Hey PC gamers, and welcome back to the PC Gamer Chat Log. I am Lauren Morton.
And hey everyone, I'm Mollie Taylor.
And this week, Mollie and I, just Mollie and I, we're going to be talking about the state of life sim games right now. Because we've been sort of waiting on this renaissance, right, of games like The Sims to arrive, and various things have happened in the last year. You know, we thought this summer, we thought it was going to start this summer with Life by You. And unfortunately, Life by You has been canceled very last minute. We're going to talk about that. We have Inzoi that's a little farther away. We have Paralives that's farther away than that. And we have the Sim series, the Sim series that is Life Sim games. Because when we say Life Sims, we're talking about those. We're not talking about Stardew Valley and that whole like other
Farm
genre
sim,
of life sim. Yeah, those are a very specific other thing. We're talking about Dollhouse Core. We're talking about live mode, build mode, simulation, life sim games. So yeah, we're gonna take stock of what's out there right now, what's not, what's coming, what's not. Unfortunately, what we know about different things. But until we get to that, Mollie, what have you been playing lately?
Yeah, so the year is 2021, 2022. I am back in my Final Fantasy 14 brain rot era. I had some time off work, and as is the law of the universe, I got sick while I was taking my time off work. But I did find a little bit of time to play. I finally finished the story, which I hadn't before. Like the last time we spoke, I hadn't finished the story. Now I
For
have
Dawn Trail or
for Dawn Trail. Yeah,
okay, yeah.
I like it. The second half is better. It's a little bit messy, but I think the thing that everyone can universally agree on, and I think I said this the last time as well, is like the battle content slaps. It's so good. Dungeons, amazing. The trials, amazing. I did a little bit of extreme as well, which is like extreme trials. It's like a step up in difficulty. So I did the first extreme trial, had a great time with that, did a little bit that while I was like not feeling super sick. I was like, okay, let me just go in, get my best in slot weapon. That was great.
Truly, no vacation goes unpunished.
No. But I haven't done anything outside of casual stuff for like nearly 2 years now because I took a bit of a break, right? So I was just coming back super casually, wasn't doing any savage raiding, wasn't doing any extreme trials, none of that. So coming back and having like a little taste of doing extreme trials again, it's been really fun. It's been really, really good. Savage raids are out in like 2 weeks. I will probably try. I'm a lot busier than I was when they first came out in Endwalker. I'm a full grown girly now, so yeah, we'll see if I have the time for that. And also, I've been playing Dave the Diver, but not Dave the Diver, Dave the Diver. I've been playing Dave the Diver in Nikkei, the mobile game with the jiggly butts that I play, that I talk about sometimes. They did a Dave the Diver collaboration, and
you said this like last week, yeah.
They did a Dave the Diver collaboration, and it's actually kind of good. It's very condensed. It's like it's Dave the Diver light. Like the map is tiny, the progression, it doesn't take very long. It's a mini game within a mobile gacha game, right? It's not going to be like full-fledged, but you could definitely just put Dave the Diver on mobile and that could work. Like it's been really interesting.
I want to know how that collaboration happened. Who knows who?
Who had that meeting?
I thought that Venn diagram was like this, and it's hello.
Yeah, I want to know who had that meeting. Who called who is exactly what I want to know. But yeah, it's kind of good. It's very interesting actually. I think I've actually played more Dave the Diver in Nikkei than I have of actual Dave the Diver.
You should play real Dave the Diver.
Yeah, I should. But I know a bunch of people who played it in Nikkei have bought Dave the Diver because it was on sale when the event first started. So I know like a bunch of people have gone and bought it. It's paying off. Yeah,
the collab worked.
The collab did work. So yeah, I've been playing a little bit of that as well.
Nice. My playtime looks kind of similar actually, because as you know, I'm full sicko mode on my MMO right now.
Yeah, Sky
I
Children
told
of the
you how
Light.
yeah, I walked backwards from cozy MMO into being very serious about the cozy MMO. That has continued. I've wrapped up, the past season, and the new season of duets just started this week, and it's focused on music. There's new like doors that you open by playing music. So I'm gonna have to learn to do that better because I find playing music in Sky a little bit challenging. It's also celebrating its 5th anniversary right now. So they did this whole like very Fortnite style, like they had like this giant screen, projector screen inside the game in a particular area, and they used this like tech that they developed last year for getting like 10 up to 10,000 people in one instance or something, which involves like very
Wow.
simplified player models, so you're like not seeing everybody in outfits and stuff, but there's a ton of people there all watching like the keynote speech for the 5th anniversary celebration and their first like physical Skyfest in person event as well. And it was cool, it was neat. They talked about lots of like quality of life updates coming to the game, and then they announced a Moomin collaboration coming this fall,
Oh,
which
cute.
I don't know a dang thing about Moomin, I'll be for real, but one of my siblings was just talking to me about it, about enjoying it and playing Snufkin, Melody of Moomin Valley, that we talked about like earlier this
Oh.
year. I only played a little bit of it, but I did mention it on this podcast. So that's coming too. Been playing lots of that. And then I've also been playing Magical Delicacy, which I talked about earlier this year,
You did
playing the
it.
demo during Steam Next Fest, which I really liked. And I still do really like things about that game. It's the like Metroidvania plus cooking thing, pixel art, very cute,
Weirdly,
seaside
not the
dock
only
town.
one.
Yes, not the
There was
only.
like 2 or 3 in that Steam Next Fest. It was crazy.
Oh, at the same time, I'm thinking of an
Yeah.
older one, like Battle Chef Brigade or
There's
something. Is that?
there's the old one. Oh my goodness.
I hope I'm not misremembering which one Battle Chef Brigade is, but that's definitely the name of a game. It may or may not be the one that's a platformer. I don't recall for sure. But Magical Delicacy, I do. It has so much personality. I love the sound design, the music. I love like the like incidental animations around things, the character animations. All of it's really great and beautiful. I like the cooking well enough. It's kind of like a puzzle. It's not really so much a mini game. It's more of a figure out which ingredients can make this recipe like work and also achieve a certain like flavor profile, because different ingredients have different flavors, like whether they're spicy or sweet or whatever. And it's not really a simulation. I'm going to be writing about this on the website, but hopefully by the time anybody hears this, that'll be live and you can read it as well. But it's not a shop sim, it's not a life sim, it's not really any of those things, because you're not trying to like pay attention to the calendar or like achieve a certain amount of money. It's really about a story. There's kind of a story going on, and you're just sort of like going through the puzzle of figuring out how to solve different quests with different recipes to advance the story, more so than you are like doing a lot of really great platforming or doing a lot of like recipe like experimentation. So
Hmm.
it's really cute. I think people are going to like it a lot. It's not exactly what I wanted it to be, I don't think. I probably wanted it to be more of a shop sim or a life sim. But I think the personality is really there and people are going to like it a lot. So that's what I've been playing. I think that's it. I think that's it. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, let's talk about other life sims, real life
Yeah.
sims. Okay, Molly, today it's just you and me talking about life sims, because we've been saying for like, I don't know, nearly a year at this point, like the life sim renaissance is coming.
It's coming.
It's coming. And okay, it's delayed a little bit. The life
Yeah.
sim renaissance is still coming. It's a little further away than it
It's
was
cooking.
before. It's cooking. Um because as we all know, as every Sims player knows, The Sims is the only one in this like hyper specific subgenre of life sims. Like it is the only one of its kind. You were
Yes.
pointing out, like if you Google games like The Sims, I haven't even written that page on our website. I was like, I'm going to finally write games like The Sims once like one or two of these launch, and then I can
Yeah.
reference the others as upcoming. I haven't even written it because it feels in bad faith. What have you found when you Google that?
So when you Google games like The Sims, I'm pretty sure. Okay, I need to get my phone. I'm almost positive what I Googled was yes. I Googled games like The Sims
People on
because
Reddit or on Reddit,
Reddit
desperate. On Reddit, they are
on Reddit.
desperate.
Yeah, so like because you know sometimes when we're getting ready for these episodes, like I have brain farts, and I was like, oh, let me just like see if there's
Make sure I'm
a
not forgetting
game.
something obvious.
Yeah, let me see make sure I'm not forgetting something. And I will say, obviously, Google's like auto answers are not massively reliable sources of information these days. However, when I Googled games like The Sims, are you ready? The Sims 3, Project Renee,
Sims
The
Medieval.
Sims 1, The Sims 2, The Sims 4 expansion packs, The Sims Mobile, Roblox, The Sims Free Play, Yandere Simulator, which is nothing like The Sims, and then Life by You.
Yeah.
Which we'll get
talk
to.
about. Even if you look at like authored listicles on that topic, people are doing their best. I respect that fully. But you'll notice the options on there are like city builders, Stardew style life sims, which we might quickly mention like are really different. Like that's not what we're talking about. That's its own whole genre, and there are many things in that genre now.
Yeah.
And like just like other kind of crafting stuff. There's no Sims. So we've been waiting for more. And there have been some in development that we thought were going to be coming soon. Like, so Paralives is, I don't know if I want to call it the biggest one, but it's probably best known or has been best known.
It's probably got the most progress right now as well, I would say. Yeah.
Paralives has been developing through like Patreon for years at this point.
Yeah.
It's got a really distinct art style. It's like kind of like sketchy, like painterly looking. I really like that part of it. We've liked what we've seen of like the modularity in the build system from that. Like it has curved walls. It has like, you know, the way you can resize pieces of furniture. And like we've recently seen a little bit of its live mode in action. Like I think it was a little bit earlier this year or maybe late last year even. So that's like one of the biggest ones. And that might be the one that you've been most excited about. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that was maybe one of the first as well that kind of came as like a potential competitor, right? Because like you said, Paralives has been in development for a hot sec at this point. So I think that first trailer, from what I can recall, it was basically saying, hey, Sims fans, you know all the things that annoy you about The Sims? Like, here's stuff that you've been asking for, and here's stuff that I know you already like. Which, obviously, like, that was not explicitly said. But from what I remember, the things that were shown were things that, like, a Sims fan would look at it and be like, oh my god, that's what I've been wanting. So that's definitely the one I'm most excited for. Maybe because it's the most tangible one out of everything we have going right now as well.
I'd say the other one that looks pretty far along is Inzoi, which is the one that's being made by Krafton, which is PUBG's publisher, which is a very funny thing when we found that out. But I like the look of that one, the style. I think other people, I know it's a little uncanny.
It
Is probably
uncanny. Uncanny is
a little
right.
too real.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it looks pretty. I really like what the character creator looks like. I'm not sure how I'm going to feel about like what build tools and how much decorating they have. I don't feel like we've seen a lot of that. And as we know, I'm build mode girl. I'm not live mode girl. But I like the weirdness that we've seen in Inzoi. I don't think I have a story on the website like dedicated to specifically everything we know about Inzoi right now, but I do have that story that's comparing all of the upcoming life sim competitors. I think it's still titled right now, The Next Generation of the Sims will finally have some much needed competition, which is, as we're talking about search results, not a search optimized title. But that's tracking some of the things that we know about it. And it looks like there's some weird stuff in it, like changing the way world states work. Like they showed off, like you can change the rate of disasters in your city or like make it kind of weirdly post-apocalyptic. I'm not sure how well any of that's going to work. Like, is it just kind of gimmicky? But they were like, look, the whole city's on fire. And I'm like, that's weird. Like, and as we talk about wanting the Sims to be a little weirder again, I think that's something we're going to get into that you feel. I'm like, okay, this one does look kind of weird, and I can appreciate that, like
Mm-hmm.
that part of it. What else do we have? Uh, we'll get to the last one last. The unnamed game from Midsummer Studios, which is co-founded by a few different people, including Jake Solomon, who I got to interview earlier this year, known for being like uh, designer of the modern XCOM games.
Yes.
And he told a lot of people, like, it was kind of always my dream to make a life sim. Like, I've always wanted to turn all sorts of things, and I'm paraphrasing. You can read a few different like interview quotes of his from earlier this year on the website as well. But paraphrasing what he said was basically like, I always thought it was really cool to like systematize as many things as possible. And like the ultimate thing that I wanted to do was like a high school setting and relationships. Like I thought that would be so cool to try to like turn into a system. And what they're working on doesn't sound like it is going to be high school specifically. He like sort of referenced Gilmore Girls, and not like it's not literally a Gilmore Girls game, but like that's sort of the inspiration. Is he wants this like small town where like drama happens because there's only a few people and it's kind of deep in that way. That's kind of what he was envisioning among various other things. I do like the sound of that one. Obviously, it has no title. We have no idea what it looks like. We just have the twinkle in Jake Solomon's eye at this point.
Eye,
Yeah. But I like the things that he had to say about it, his vision, because I think if like as things are coming out to compete with The Sims, another thing we'll talk about in a little bit, the scope, like you can't just come out and compete with The Sims on scope. There's a reason it's been top dog for almost 25 years at this point. You can't beat him on that. So he has this vision of like creating drama in these like bite-sized scenes that you're living through in this game. And I think focusing in that way on like a specific part of the experience is a good idea.
Yeah.
And then there's Life by You, which is
dead.
No longer happening.
Dead. It was coming out, and then it wasn't, and then it was coming out, and then it wasn't again, and then it was like, we're going to come out in a month, and then
2 weeks before it launched,
yeah,
it was canceled.
Yeah.
And also we have coverage of that on the website as well if you want to read the details of how that kind of went down. It did not sound positive. Like, you know, we've talked many times about layoffs and like weird game cancellations this year, and that seems like another situation that didn't go the way that anybody that would want it to. But yeah, what were you thinking about Life by You before it unfortunately is no longer happening?
Yeah, I mean, it looked a little crusty, right? It looked a little
visually,
like like visually, it looked a little rough around the edges, which, you know, for me, I think as long as there's you can make up for that in other aspects, which I think is what they were trying to do, right? I think as long as everything functions, as stupid as that sounds, Sims players will understand why that is a request that I have.
Yeah.
But it's like I wasn't expecting it to be even a direct competitor. I was just expecting, or at least hoping, for it to be just a different way for me to experience kind of this very, like you say, hyper-specific niche genre that I enjoy so much without it explicitly having to be The Sims, right?
Yeah.
So I wasn't like super duper stoked for it, but I was still excited to see something coming out. And, you know, when that was the thing that was coming out, that was like the closest we've had to something like this.
It was going to be the soonest. It was going to be the first to launch. And now it looks like Inzoi will be first when that happens.
Yeah, Paralives is 2025 so far.
Yeah, and Inzoi, as far as we know, is still supposed to be sometime this year. I think. I hope I didn't make that up and they haven't like delayed it and I wasn't paying attention. But I'm pretty sure we're still expecting Inzoi sometime this year. Yeah, Life by You, it was being led by Rod Humble, who also we've gotten to have multiple interviews with Rod Humble last year, this year, talking about Life by You. Obviously, he was a big part of the actual Sim series, like years back, right? So seeing him lead a competitor was a cool thing, and I liked everything he had to say about it. He was really open about modding, really wanting content creators. Like he clearly loves this genre, and like and has like a respect and enthusiasm for the people that play it, because he was talking
Mm-hmm.
about Tumblr. He was like, we want, I think it was him, or was that something Jake Solomon was saying? Now I'm mixing people up, but either way, both of them had a lot of enthusiasm for the genre and for the people that play it.
When you're
which was
bringing up
great to see.
Tumblr, you know your audience, because that is where so many of these mods and custom content are still being curated, right? It is the only reason it is exclusively why I use Tumblr. I do not use Tumblr for anything
Just for Sims
else.
content, yeah.
Just for Sims CC, that's it.
There's no other reason to be there.
No.
Now that I'm thinking about it, okay, please fact check me. I don't want to misspeak here, but I think this is something I talked about with Jake Solomon, actually, who was mentioning Tumblr and like wanting to attract the audience that specifically creates like wacky scenarios and like drama and like posts about the ongoing lives of their Sims. But Rod Humble was talking a lot about content creators and modders and wanting to be really supportive of that type of content. So and like weird like custom settings. He was very invested in like the custom settings for the world of Life by You, like changing the distribution of like types of people that exist. I think at one point he said something about like, what if everybody is in love with your player character? That's their sexuality, is they're in love with you. And like, that's a silly example, but I like the thought that you can just play with all sorts of weird factors and generate worlds that have different states. Because that's not a thing that The Sims does at all. You get the option to turn off some expansion pack features that you've bought if you are annoyed with vampires and you want them to go away. Or I think you can turn off laundry. But that's pretty much the field that we're looking at right now. Life by You canceled, Inzoi coming soon-ish, Paralives coming later, Midsummer Studios coming probably later than that even. Maybe. Renaissance delayed.
Just a little bit. Hopefully just by a little bit. Yeah.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed. I do wish that they had gone ahead and released whatever they had, because it sounded like there was a game there, right? There was a game there. So
I mean, they were doing regular YouTube videos. Rod Humble was like himself doing YouTube videos on their channel of like, let's look at this feature today. Like there was something very playable there. And however Paradox felt about putting it into the market, I guess, was not, hard to tell exactly what happened there internally, I guess, at this moment. But it sure was a game.
It sure was a game, and we'll never see it.
Yeah.
Unless someone steals the code and just says have it. That'll be. I don't endorse stealing.
We don't endorse that. We would just, agree to benefit from it if it happened.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what we're looking at. That's not The Sims. What about, literally The Sims? Like, what is the state of The Sims 4 right now? You have feelings about this, please. This is my invitation. Just like go off.
I do have feelings about The Sims 4, which I don't remember if I have said on this episode before. I have definitely said this in discussions with you and in just discussions at work in general, right? The game has been out for nearly 10 years now. September.
It's about to be 10 years, yeah.
Yeah, September will mark 10 years since The Sims 4 release, which is the longest. When you bear in mind the series is 25 years old, right? So it's turning 25 years old next year. So 25 years of existing, and your fourth installment makes up for like over a third of that. Is kind of crazy, right? It's kind of weird that it's been running for so long, but I think the fact that it's been going for so long is to its detriment, ultimately. It's kind of in a weird place right now. It's very buggy. They're working on it, they say. They say they assembled a team, which was kind of clowned on by myself included.
By you.
Yeah, by me. Yeah,
and
everyone else. That announcement was kind of clowned on because people were like, isn't that literally what you're supposed to be doing anyway, is work on fixing these bugs? Yeah, I think there's a problem, right? When you have so many packs now, there are like a bunch of you've got expansions, game packs, stuff packs, and then kits, because some of the kits introduce small little gameplay additions as well, right? And you've got all of these moving parts, and I can imagine it must genuinely be hell trying to create a new pack and have it work with every other pack in the game. That code must be an absolute, like, it must be in shambles at this point. I feel like that whole thing is just like taped together with like chewing gum and sticks. Like that must be how all that is being put together right now. I I think it's time for it to to die, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's the thing is the experience that players are having is every time that a new, like, especially a new major DLC comes out, which
Mm-hmm.
depending on when people hear this episode, we're either about to or have just had the launch of the Lovestruck DLC
Oh
or
yeah.
expansion, which is a full expansion. And yeah, every time a big major expansion comes out, just like bugs in the simulation everywhere, all sorts of wacky stuff. And as you say, like it's kind of unavoidable at this point. I mean, we players are wont to get on Reddit and say like, doesn't anybody QA this game? And like, maybe not, based on them assembling a team to deal with bug fixes. But of course, somebody QAs this game, and you can't like find all the edge cases, especially when you have a game that's as grafted together as The Sims 4 is at this point. Because yeah, like you said, it's been around for 10 years and it has a million DLCs. I don't think any game is meant to like survive that amount of just
Yeah.
like pasting things on it.
Constantly, constantly like tacking
What game could
things
sustain
onto
that?
it.
Yeah, especially like a deeply simulated game. Like of course it's an
Yeah.
absolute house of cards after
It's
10 years.
it's tough, right? I mean, you've got packs that came out not long after that game release that are still kind of
Mm-hmm.
fundamentally broken sometimes. The one pack that everyone brings up is Dine Out,
Yeah.
right? Dine Out is a painfully stupidly messed up. I think it's a game pack. I think it's like the middle tier in terms
Okay,
of
yeah.
the
Not an
pack.
expansion.
No, I don't think I don't think it's a full blown expansion. I think it's a game pack. But
Quick,
it's like,
name all the types of DLC that The Sims 4 has. Expansion, game pack, stuff pack, kits.
yes, that's it.
Oh, there's got to be one more. There's got
That's
to be
it.
5.
It's
Are you
just the
sure?
4. It's just the 4.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think it's a game pack, but it's been kind of broken. It's hard to actually run a restaurant because that's the whole point of the game pack, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can run a restaurant. It's actually very hard to make that happen. It stuff always gets stuck. That's kind of, I think, one of the biggest issues that a lot of people have right now is stuff tends to get stuck a lot. So like actions will just freeze up, or you'll like queue stuff up and the game will just kind of have a brain fart, and it's like and then you'll hit 3 times speed and your Sims will just kind of like rapidly like sway
Do nothing.
and
Yeah.
then the entire queue of actions will just disappear because it can't decide what to do, and it's like, oh, okay, that's fine, I guess. But yeah, I think that's definitely been, especially for me, that's probably been one of the biggest issues, is that
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to play it without something going wrong. And then you've got the weird little quirks that were happening for ages as well. I think like when like Sims were constantly getting glasses of water or like washing dishes and like going out of their way to go to the bathroom to wash dishes rather than washing them like in the kitchen sink. There's been like very strange quirks that I think the water thing has been fixed. I don't know about the dishwashing thing. I think that might have also been fixed. But there's
now
quirks.
a toggle for sinks. For you can set a toggle for sinks, and
That's
whether
what
they're
they
a
did.
bathroom
Yep.
sink or a kitchen sink, which is like I guess that's a decent solution. I think I feel like that's how they solve a lot of these problems lately, is adding more like override settings and putting them into the hands of players. It's been like, the simulation does what it wants to do, but if you want to like override it yourself to make it do better, here's a toggle to make that happen. I feel like that's been the solution in a couple different cases lately.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the kitchen sinks is one. I don't know, sides of the bed. I don't remember how that like arose being a thing, and like locking doors for different Sims, like room lock doors. I don't remember when those things got added, but like it's been in the last few years. We were going to talk about this later, but it feels relevant like at this moment now in the middle of this conversation is like why it's so hard for anyone to make one of these games. We're talking about how they keep
Yeah.
getting delayed or they're in development for such a long time. The Sims has been the only one for like 25 years. Why is it so difficult? I guess, and as you're talking about like bugs and things breaking, I feel like that to me is like the core issue. And this is something that, again, Rod Humble said to us earlier this year when Life by You was still scheduled to come out. He told us that like people don't realize that Life Sims are like the most complex
Mm-hmm.
RPGs imaginable. Like they're just like so deeply complex. And I think that's kind of at the root of why we keep seeing them get delayed or like, you know, we're just like still waiting on these things to happen is that when you think about other deeply simulated games, like if you think about Crusader Kings 3, if you think about Stellaris, if you think about Dwarf Fortress, or I don't know, there are going to be examples or like exceptions. I think like now I'm thinking about like, I don't know, Oxygen Not Included is deeply
Mm-hmm.
simulated and maybe is closer to what I'm about to say. But the difference is that so many of those other deeply simulated games, the simulation is like displayed to the player in a menu. There's tons of menus, tons of
Yeah.
numbers. And in The Sims, uniquely, because of what it is, that simulation has to then be represented through a lot of 3D character animations and interactions and like a really visual like interactive part of the game that can have all sorts of wacky visual animation bugs um, and like some of the things you're talking about are simulation bugs too, like the way actions queue or like other things. But I feel like that intersection of like big 3D modeled world and
Yeah.
simulation is why it's so difficult for anyone to replicate. Like it's just it's like a beast, like a
Yeah.
monstrous
I think
undertaking.
yeah, because I think like, the other ones that you're like mentioning, right? It's a lot of like settlements and like more larger groups rather than like individual
Mm-hmm.
humans, right? And when you're
Mm-hmm.
looking at The Sims, it's like, someone in Civ isn't going to like wash their hands after they go to the bathroom. Right. That's not something that they need to be programmed to do. They're not like waking up and then going and getting a grilled cheese out of the fridge and cooking it, right? So it's all these like tiny intricacies that like because there are so many things to manage in the Sims, right? And that's true of the other examples you brought up as well. But I think because they're so specific to each individual, I guess, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
every individual has to meet those needs and has to like perform these tasks. And then instead of it being relationships between larger groups of people or larger settlements, it's relationships with individual people. And then sometimes three people can have an interaction with each other, or four people can have an interaction with each other. And then in the background as well, you go to like a community lot in The Sims, and you've
Oh
got
God, yeah.
all of these Sims autonomously doing their own thing, right? And then you've got your
Uh-huh.
Sim autonomously doing things, but then you can be like, no, 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 don't do that. Go and do this thing I want you to do instead. And I can just imagine, like, I rag on The Sims quite a lot, especially at the minute, because it is
Mm-hmm.
such a mess. But I can imagine there's a lot of
Yeah.
moving parts. And I think it's that blend of like it's having that autonomy programmed into characters when there are so many small intricate moving parts to making those characters like have their needs met. I guess that's where the biggest issue comes in from, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, there are so many reasonable things to dunk on The Sims for. Like
Yes.
absolutely 100%. And yet I don't want to undersell like how massive of a game um that is. Like it's such an undertaking. You've been coping by going back and playing The Sims 2 a
I
lot.
have,
How have you
yeah.
been finding it?
Yeah, I've been enjoying it. There's still, there are still little bugs and glitches in that game. Is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, right? But I was kind of getting fed up with The Sims 4, and I was like, oh, I'll go back and play The Sims 2 because it's very easy to get a hold of like the complete collection at this point. It's
Right.
abandonware. It's super easy to get a hold of. So I was like, I'll go back and I'll play The Sims 2. And, it's always, we talk a lot about living up to something versus your memory of something, right?
Right.
So I was like, oh, maybe I'm just like, maybe it's just my memory tricking me into how good The Sims 2 is. No, The Sims 2 is ridiculously fun. There are so many like great little details, even just in like animations. There are so many fantastic details that just aren't in The Sims 4, like the way couples cuddle when they're in bed, or like the way a sim lies on the sofa, or the way they like just really tiny minuscule details in The Sims 2 that I was like, damn, I was like, The Sims 4 does not have this. And I assume again it's because there are so many moving parts in that game that the less weird little freaky deaky animations they're throwing in, the better, right? But I think maybe it's due to the fact that obviously The Sims 2 is a lot more pared down in comparison. Maybe that kind of helps it be better. Maybe it was just a better game. I mean, it is a better game, but but it was just, even though there's so many similar mechanics, right? Because a lot of packs carry over from game to game.
Yeah.
A lot of packs in The Sims 2 have repeated themselves in The Sims 3 and The Sims 4 in different iterations. But I don't know what it is about that game. Like, I was playing live mode way more than I ever do The Sims 4.
Oh, yeah. You said it's weirder. Like, you like the personality in it. And I feel like that's a thing I hear a lot of players, like, say generally about older parts of the series, is that it used to be really weird. And my memories are, like, kind of hazy. Because I grew up on The Sims 1 and The Sims 2. Skipped The Sims 3. And I guess I don't have, like, big memories of how the personality of the series changed. Like, was it really that weird?
See, I haven't played The Sims 2 in a few weeks now. I've been Final Fantasy I've been Dawn Trail pilled, so my brain is like a little squiffed now. But I do think it was weirder. Yeah, I do think it was weirder. I think because they've started to introduce this in The Sims 4 now, right? You've got like your turn-ons and turn-offs, and in The Sims 2 it was just like points that you could allocate to personality that would alter the way that they behaved as well. And I think star signs would change some of that to an extent as well. Yeah, there was like all these like different, even though there wasn't 1,000,001 traits like there is in The Sims 4. You could still kind of alter a lot of how your Sims behaved based on just like the small pool that they gave you, I guess. I don't know. It's a great game.
It's like you can actually do more interesting things with fewer tools. Like you can find more interesting interactions in this smaller pool of tools and like settings than like The Sims 4 is so obsessed with adding new systems to replicate absolutely everything. And like, that's fantastic. Some of the things that they've added are great. Like I love when they add like just new kinds of representation. Like, you know, polyamory is coming alongside in a free update, like with the Love Struck expansion, and like they've added all sorts of just like different ways to be in The Sims. But the more things they add, it's like the more the game turns to mush, and it gets harder to find something interesting to do in it because the like the options are infinitesimal.
Is that
I
word?
write for a living. I don't speak. Leave me alone. I could probably spell it. But yeah, that's how I feel about The Sims 4 right now. There's so much to do, and then you look at it and you're like, okay, what do I do? Instead of going back to like older, weirder Sims 2, Sims 3, and being like, oh my gosh, I didn't remember like it did this thing. Like, and I say that and like it's such a like rose-colored way to look at it, because I'm sure if you spent 3 months playing exclusively The Sims 2, you would get bored and annoyed with it. Like if you actually played The Sims 2 to the degree that people play The Sims 4 right now, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, I agree for sure. There are things that I miss. So I miss being able to construct your own like neighborhoods. That was like a big thing with The Sims 2, is that you can construct your own neighborhoods. I miss being able to build apartments. You cannot build apartments in The Sims 4. You get the predetermined apartments. You cannot change the windows. you can, understandably, you can't change the layout.
Oh, when they
of the
first added
predetermined
them
ones.
before.
Yeah, can you change the
rent.
windows now? I don't think you can.
Oh, on the like existing apartments from
Yeah.
other DLCs? That I don't remember. You probably still
can.
can't. In like city living and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't think you can, or in eco lifestyle. I don't think.
Yeah.
Like,
You can now
it's
build them from the
maddening to
ground
me.
up. I like doing that, but
I miss that. You could build
What?
apartments now.
What? For rent, Molly? Yeah, we talked about this.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, my bad.
you
I
can-
don't have that expansion yet, so
Oh, I got that one. Build mode all the way.
I don't have that expansion yet. My bad.
But yeah, the pre-made apartments, I think you still can't edit them as much as you would want to. I forget. I'm not positive. Yeah. What about The Sims 5? Let's look ahead. Project Renee, rather. It's not going to be called The Sims 5 if we had to guess. It's just what we and everybody else are calling it because that's easier.
It's looking less and less likely. Renee. It is looking less and less likely that it's going to be a sequel in the traditional sense, right? It's not going to be what The Sims 4 was to The Sims 3 and vice versa.
I can't tell. I can't tell from the things they've said about it.
They're not being entirely clear on exactly what Project Renee is, which also makes me wonder, do they know what Project Renee is? Like,
I hope so.
Yeah, like
as far as like its relationship to the rest of the series is what we're talking about. Like,
like
because like
this, like cool.
If it were called The Sims 5, they would be calling it The Sims 5.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. It's called Project Renee. It's going to have some other name, presumably. And they've said things in the few like public things they've said about it, like, we're going to continue supporting it alongside The Sims 4. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Is that like how you support last gen consoles after the new one comes out? Is that what we're talking about? We're going to support The Sims 4 after the new one comes out? Or are we talking about like, this is not a mainline sequel, this is adjacent, we're going to support The Sims 4 in the same way we support The Sims Mobile and The Sims 4 currently, and then The Sims Project Renee? I'm not sure which
it's not completely clear right now, right? Yeah. And there's been whisperings that it's going to be more of a live service model as well, right? So instead of...
We know it's going to be free. So.
Yes, it's going to be free, which the Sims 4 base game
is now free.
Is as well, right? So you can get the base game...
After everybody who wants it already has it. Yeah. Who is getting The Sims 4 new at this point? Everyone has bought it.
Yeah, they made the base game free. Was it last year? It might have been like sometime last year, I believe. If not, maybe like late 2022. Definitely within the last like year and a half.
Yeah.
So they made that free. So again, it's like, is Project Renee gonna do where it's like the base game's free and then you pay outright for any additional expansions? Or is it gonna be this live service model that people have been theorizing about, where maybe you don't own the packs, or maybe you pay a monthly subscription for which
I theorized subscription 2 years ago.
You did. Yeah, we did a podcast.
We talked about this like second episode on this podcast.
Right at the beginning of this podcast, we talked about
The Sims 5.
The Sims 5, Project Renee, what we wanted, what we thought it was going to be. And we still don't know anything more than what we knew.
Only a little bit,
either, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, I don't know. I think I am of the opinion that they need to let The Sims 4 die. It needs to, but the way that they're stuffing everything into that, there's like daily logins.
Oh, I
now.
know.
There's daily logins. They're still pumping out kits like they're Sandra Bullock in Speed, and if they stop pumping out kits, the bus is going to explode. That is. I've never seen Speed. I think that's the premise.
What are you talking about?
It is Sandra Bullock, right? There's that film Speed.
I don't know.
They keep having to drive the bus, and if they don't drive the bus at a facet of speed, the bus explodes. I've never seen Speed. I think
is this a fever dream you had?
No. I am sticking firmly with this metaphor, this analogy that the Sims 4 is Sandra Bullock, the kits are the Sandra Bullock, the Sims 4 is
is the bus. Keep driving the kits.
They keep
forever.
having to release the kits or the bus explodes. That's how it feels right now. And I wish they wouldn't. I really don't like kits. I have separate opinions on kits, but yeah, they need to let the Sims 4 die. I don't know if they're like scared of letting it die because it's been so long now and because people have invested so much time and money and obviously like CC. There's so much CC for this game now, right? I don't know if they're like worried about what that means.
There is a fear, right, when you release a new iteration of a series like this. I mean, it's not like a one-to-one comparison between like yearly sports game releases, but like there's a fear that you're losing part of your install base, right, with a new version that like if it comes out like The Sims 4 came out when it launched without swimming pools, you know, like you're not going to get the install base you want on that game because people are going to stick to the one that already has all the features, but they already spent all the money for a while. And I'm sure they're thinking about that tension on the budget sheet, right? Which is maybe why we're hearing all these things about supporting both, because they want to have their cake and eat it too, as far as a spending player base goes.
Yeah, I'm really curious. I'm very curious to see. What do you think they should do, Lauren? Tell them what they should do.
So we wrote a story, like a little group piece about this quite a while ago. And we updated it a little bit, like what we actually want from The Sims 5. And we came up with some stuff. And I was just reading back through what we said at the time, because this was before we knew anything about the Project Renee, I think, when we originally wrote it. And one of my biggest asks was a better way to share like custom content, and not even modded custom content. I'm just talking about like custom creations, like the gallery right now. Nobody likes using the gallery. It's a nightmare. But like more importantly, the gallery is really limited in the amount of things that you can share. You can share families, you know, you can share a family of Sims, you can share a lot. Is that it? Is that all you can share? Look, I don't use the gallery because it's annoying and it's hard to search for things.
I think people have kind of found clever ways to share things like gallery walls and like artwork and stuff like that.
Right.
I think people have like used the gallery to kind of do stuff like that as well. But ultimately it is like for like Sims and lots, and that's and
it. From the little we've seen of Project Renee, we've seen them sharing, like putting on their like version, like whatever the new version of the gallery will be, like a layout for a room, not the whole room, but like a furniture configuration
in the Sims as well. Yeah, you can.
Oh yeah, you can share individual rooms, not just lots.
I totally forgot about that.
And in Project Renee, not just rooms, but like a little setup, like it's a magazine page. Get this look, like here is this couch and this rug and all these things in this configuration, and that's nice. But I want more than that. I want people to be able to share like setups for challenges, like. Not just like a save file, but like a preset of sorts. I want you to be able to share swatches for the new version of the Create a Style tool when that comes back. Because that was my other big ask, was bring back Create a Style from Sims 3. Give me swatches. Let me edit furniture, please. And they're doing that. You're getting the color picker back. You're getting like modular editing of different pieces of furniture. That's going to be great. I'm really excited about that. And I want like more better ways to share things with other players. That's not just a family, a lot, a room. I really want them to think outside the box as far as things we can share with other people, because that's what keeps those games going.
Yeah, that's what keeps it going, right?
Sharing stuff. I also think they've talked a little bit about crossplay between desktop and mobile, and we know it's going to be multiplayer. There's going to be modes where you can like edit a room, and you are not excited about this, like simultaneously in multiplayer with people. You're like, don't touch my stuff.
Yeah, it's like everyone being in a Google Doc at the same time.
I know.
It's a fucking nightmare.
You can see the pink cursor moving around, editing your story while someone else is about to start proofreading it for you. Yeah. I know, it brings on the fear. But okay, the multiplayer part of it aside, I do think it's smart of them to focus on like multiple platforms, because they have said that the desktop and the mobile version will not be identical. Those will be like slightly different experiences, which is smart. I don't want them to replicate the entire
Yes.
like desktop next Sims game experience and try to put it on a
On a
phone.
phone. Oh my
But
god.
if you like pare it down or make it like parallel in some other
Like a
way,
companion kind
yeah,
of, yeah.
that it sounds like you'll be able to do some of the same things, not all of the same things. And I think that's smart, like acknowledging that people want to play different ways on different devices.
Yeah.
And the separation between desktop and mobile is like not what it was at one time. I mean, you talk about all the time you've been playing Honkai on your phone instead of
Yeah.
on your desktop, right?
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I have said in previous podcasts, I really do enjoy games where I can choose to play them on my PC, or if I'm like away or I don't want to sit at my desk, I can play it on the phone. I love that. I'm all here for that.
Yeah. So
Even
I
if
do
it
think
is
that's
in like
smart.
a more pared down format. It is
Yeah.
smart. I agree.
And specifically, yeah, that they're differentiating between those two platforms and like what their capabilities are. I like that. I want them to acknowledge those are different. They don't need to do the exact same things. You don't need to cram the Sims interface onto my mobile phone.
No.
I won't do it. And then this one's kind of niche, but so many character creators anymore have like sliders for ombre tones on hairs and different highlights. Like, doesn't even Final Fantasy 14 have that? Like, you can change. No,
It has
okay.
like a highlights option. Street Fighter has it.
Okay. Do Dragon's Dogma 2 have it? Maybe?
I would assume, yeah, I think so, because I think those character creators
Like
are
Black
very
Desert, I think,
similar.
does. Yeah.
Yeah, there is options in some games, but it's still not a lot that do, right?
And maybe we've also seen it in like the Inzoi character creator, the few things we've seen of that. I feel like potentially. Anyway, I really like that because right now the Sims 4, the like multi-tone hairs that's like baked into a swatch. It's like there's like several different hairs in the Sims 4 where it's like here's a version of this hair that's like all one color and here's a version of this hair that's like duotone and like we picked the swatches for you. No, give me a color picker, give me a slider, and I want to change how much like, you know, duotone is going on in hair. That's really specific, but like I want that. Anyway, those are things I want from Project Renee when we finally get it. Do you have other stuff from that list or from that
I want something that functions. I just want something that works. I think ultimately what I want is I want them to not repackage the basics like they have been doing. You know, I want put seasons in base game. We're already getting apartments in base game.
Yeah, we do know that.
Put seasons in base game, put pets in base game, and then do more interesting things with your expansions. And also I don't need like a ton of gameplay, because that's how we get into this mess, right? Is when you're like, what if there were horses and high schools and everything else? Like, you know, they're doing an entire pack themed around romance, which I also have thoughts about. I also do have thoughts about that. You know, it's like for rent, aspects from For Rent should have been in City Living, for example.
Right.
Or vice versa. You know, like I want to see less expansions and then just more interesting stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Fewer, bigger expansions.
Yeah, fewer, bigger expansions, and not.
We're not going to get that. There's no way.
We're not going to get that. I don't want this reliance. They've been coasting for the last 3 games now and essentially repackaging the same stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, we know there's going to be a pets expansion. There's going to be a seasons expansion. There's going to be this expansion. I don't want that anymore. Put it in the base game. And then do cooler stuff with expansions. I loved Eco Lifestyle. A lot of people rag on Eco Lifestyle. That's one of my favorites because I think they did something really interesting. Same with Snowy Escape. So
yeah. Oh, this is after you said Snowy Escape, sideline. I was talking to a friend recently, or maybe I was even talking to you about like single tile showers, or I wrote about it in a story when I was doing a news update. I was like, oh yeah, man, I want that single tile shower that's in the Discovery University pack for my tiny houses. And I was like, I was like, wait, I have a single tile shower that I've been using in my tiny houses. I don't own Discovery University. What is it from? It's from Snowy Escape. Snowy Escape has one too. So there's 2 expansions that have single tile showers.
Single tile showers.
Highly sought after feature for me personally. So that's a lot about like The Sims specifically. But then we have these other competitors upcoming. I'm excited about Imzoi. You're excited about Paralives. I'm excited about like the specificity that is being talked about from Midsummer Studios right now. Because like, as you're saying, too much stuff. Do smaller, more interesting stuff. And I think Midsummer looks like it's going to be trying to do that. Like,
hopefully.
This really specific kind of experience that they're envisioning about like how drama is constructed in a game. Paralives and Inzoi, I think, are trying to be kind of Sims light, both, in their different ways, different visual styles. Yeah. I want them all. I want them all. We want some competition. We want more life sim games.
I would love to see a life. I don't need it to be on the scope of The Sims, and I don't think anyone's necessarily trying to do that either. I don't need it to be on the scope of The Sims. I'm just here for interesting takes and ideas on the genre. The Sims 4 doesn't need to be a monopoly.
Yeah. Please. No.
Please.
We want more options.
Yes.
Let's see. Any other things we're forgetting about that we wanted to mention?
No, I think we're good.
Oh, there's a tiny game, a little one called Tiny Life that I think I only played the demo for. It's like this lo-fi, like little Sims thing. I should go back and try more of that.
Oh, cute.
I think it might still be in early access, potentially. But yeah, it is in fact tiny. It's not like not full-scale Sims competitor.
Yeah, there used to be a lot of mobile games, actually, that I remember now, that used to function like old Sims, like the old isometric Sims style. A lot of them used to exist, because I used to play a lot of them on mobile, but anything beyond that, like, we're talking like Sims 2 era onward, has not really been matched, so that's that I'm looking forward to. I feel like it's bad for me to only bring that up at the end, but I forget, I used to see a lot of like isometric live sim stuff, I guess back when it wasn't as nuanced, but now it is. So
how fully featured were any of those? Maybe not very, but well, yeah, that is our thoughts, feelings, predictions for the to be coming renaissance of life sims. Hopefully when they start coming out. Yeah, wait for the PC Gamer listicle someday, finally. Games like The Sims. When there are indeed games like The Sims. I will hold the line.
Yep, you're not just Googling games like The Sims and it's just giving you other Sims games.
Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing. No! Those are not games like The Sims.
They're not games like The Sims. They're games that Sims fans enjoy.
Also like, which, I mean, look, truly when you Google that, that's like kind of what you're wanting. It's just like something else you'll like. But also sometimes like, no, I literally want something else.
Like The Sims.
Games like The Sims. And they don't exist. Anyway, you can read all sorts of stuff about all of these games that we've mentioned. There's coverage about all of them on PCGamer.com. We've had, as I said, multiple interviews with Life by You's creative director before it was canceled that you can read. We've done some coverage of Paralives as it's been in development, and Inzoi, what we know about it so far. Multiple interviews with the upcoming Midsummer Studios, the little that we know about those games so far, and as usual, The Sims 4, when new DLCs and new packs come out. Mollie has feelings. So do I. You can find that on the website, along with all of the usual news, reviews, guides, opinions, things on PCGamer.com. And as usual, you will be able to talk to Mollie and I about this episode at forums.pcgamer.com. So until next week, Mollie, bye.
Bye.